I've always thought one of the funniest backward logic that a lot of women employ is that they'll easily hook up with a guy that they know aren't going to take them serious. But when they meet a good guy, a guy that has potential for long-term relationship that checks off a lot of boxes, she'll purposely withhold sex from him. Now there's two things to consider, right? The first thing is that, and this is going to come as a shocking realization to a lot of guys, but if you're just trying to get laid, if you're just trying to hook up, right? Which I don't advocate for, by the way. I'm celibate myself, but I've just kind of given up on preaching that. But here's the secret. Women are just as horny, if not even more than guys sometimes. They're just a lot better at hiding it. Like if you think about it physiologically, right? For a guy, right? Whenever we orgasm, whenever we nut like a squirrel, you either immediately fall asleep, you're curled up like a shrimp in bed and sex is the last thing on your mind. Or if you're like me and you feel like meditating on a mountain somewhere to repent for your sins. Like this is how guys are whenever we orgasm. But women, however, can keep going for hours on end. They can have multiple orgasms. And as much as men and women have different experiences with sex, there's a bunch of women out there that just want to fulfill their needs, as I've come to understand. So they look for a guy who sparks that physical arousal, aka the bad boy, right? The one that she finds attractive and the guy that gets her pulse rate up. The guy that's going to give her a good time and throw her around in bed, etc. So when she eventually starts looking for a good guy, right? Typically when they start to get older. When that clock starts ticking. She's gotten so much experience just hooking up with the bad boys and never talking to them ever again, to the point where she starts applying those same standards and gets scared with the good guy and withholds sex. But here's the thing, right? It doesn't make sense to withhold something that clearly holds no value to you if you've hooked up with a bunch of guys, a bunch of one-night stands, first dates, etc. I mean, you can do whatever you want, right? It's your choice. I'm just putting holes in that logic. Like something that would make sense to withhold would be maybe sleeping over at the guy's place or having him sleep over at your place. Or maybe cooking dinner for the guy, right? Like just something that you haven't done for every other guy. Like from this perspective, it makes no sense to withhold sex from the guy that has the qualifications, the good guy. Which is why the good guys choose to bounce, because in their mind, it's like, sex isn't all I want, but why should I be withheld certain benefits that you've given up for a California burrito and 30 minutes at a concert? Like in his mind, he's thinking, why should I be punished for having qualifications for being a long-term partner? And by the way, I'm also helping out the girls with this one because I'm telling you what goes through the quote-unquote good guy's mind, the guy that you want to be with long-term. Like yeah, of course you can choose to hook up with whatever you want, just don't be surprised when you want to settle down or look for something real with a good guy and he doesn't stick around because you've been around. It's not that he's like the other guys and only wants sex. I mean, every guy wants sex, right? But it doesn't mean that's all he wanted just because he bounced. Because you're withholding something that you used to give out for 30 minutes at a nightclub. It doesn't mean that sex is all he wanted, it's just having that self-respect. He's thinking, why am I going to pay full price when the guy before me just got it for a Hennessy and some R&B? Again, it's really not even about sex, right? You can interchange sex with anything like washing dishes or doing his laundry or making him lunch or whatever. My point still stands. It's more about withholding a benefit that you've given out to the guy that didn't have long-term qualifications. It makes the guy that you want for long-term, it makes it feel like he's getting ripped off. And also, going back to guys, right? Even though there are girls that just go for the bad boy, the more attractive guy because they just want to get ran. The guy that's going to throw them around in the bedroom, which they all secretly want. There's also another reason why they go for the bad boy despite knowing that they're not going to take him serious. If the guy is attractive enough, whether it be finance, status, looks, physique, whatever, right? Even if she knows that he's a bad boy or boy, she will forego her logic and go with emotion because of this one thing. See, what I've come to understand is that when it comes to women, their words will betray them a lot of the times. How many times have you heard your girl say that she's fine and it obviously wasn't fine? I mean, girls will literally call the guy they're f***ing an asshole. Women love fantasy. They love idealistic love and romanticizing their love life. There's a reason why women love rom-coms, why they're the main buyers of romance novels, and why they love drama and drama shows. Why 50 Shades of Grey was the highest selling book, the Twilight franchise, why that was so huge. It was the idea of two hot guys, fighting for the love of the main character, the vampire dude and the wolf guy. And women fantasize about being in that position. It's why they love reality dating shows, Love is Blind, or whatever dating shows they watch. It's because women love fantasy, they love idealistic love, they love romanticizing their situation and love life. The reason why they'll get with the bad boy despite knowing that he's a boy is because they think that they can be the one. The one that changes him or the one that he changes for. And on top of that, it's also status, right? The fuckboy gets a lot of girls, hence the term fuckboy. Being the one girl that he chooses, the one girl that he stops being a fuckboy for, automatically puts them ahead of all those other girls. You see, in the world we live in, perception can sometimes be reality. I'll give you an example. Pete Davidson, right? There was a period of time where he was notorious for getting with a bunch of hot female celebrities, artists, and musicians. So ask yourself, why is this, right? Is it because he's super attractive? Is he in extremely good shape, or is he super famous? You can kind of argue on all those things, but I would argue not really. He's not really conventionally attractive, he's not in that good shape. As for fame, kind of, sorta. But I would argue that most people would have no idea what he does. But what made him attractive to women at the time was the fact that other famous women wanted him. It was the perception created by the women around him that made him more attractive. Which is why when he was notorious for getting with a bunch of famous hot women, it was all over your feed. There's a reason why all of that happened around the same time. Once the novelty of the status of being a playboy wore off, no one really cared anymore. And that was when the Kardashian witch broke up with him. She was never with him because she found him attractive. It was the novelty, right? When that perception was no longer there, so did the perceived attraction. It died off. It's kind of similar to how the term clout works. Whoever is garnering the most attention at the moment, everybody tends to gravitate towards that person. And this can apply to anything, right? Whether it's school, your social circle, your coworkers, your workspace, etc. It's whoever's garnering the most attention in that room, and that person becomes the most attractive. And when that attention begins to die off, everyone around can kind of feel it, and they begin to leave. That's when the perception wears off. And that's exactly what happened. Overall perception can sometimes shape reality itself. A guy that's not that attractive can seem way more attractive if there's women around him. Like, other girls on the surface might think, I don't really think he's that attractive, but if all these other girls are gravitating towards him, there must be something attractive about him. So then he eventually starts becoming attractive in her eyes. Or even a guy that's, let's say he's not that funny, right? Let's say I paid like 20 people to, just be around me and laugh at my jokes all the time. Even if you didn't think I was funny initially, eventually you're gonna start thinking I'm funny, just by association. Or let's say if someone botted views on YouTube videos, right, and made his views like 1 million views, you would instantly think that what he's saying is that much more impactful, even if his message was the exact same when he had 10 viewers to 1 million. The perception can shape reality, and this 100% applies to attraction, especially in a woman's eyes. So in other words, the bad boy has status because other women want him. So when he chooses you, your status rises by association as the woman that he chose. And women love this. They love the idea of that, of being different than the other girls, of being the one. Like, there's a reason why women who love their man, they say, "That's my man." That phrase isn't directed at the guy. It's directed at the entire world and to other women. By claiming him as her man, that raises her status and perceived attraction by association. Bro, that's why having status is so powerful, arguably the most powerful attraction trigger for women. Women love the idea of being the one to tame the beast, but they don't actually want a guy who's actually tame. They just love the idea of being the one to tame that guy. With the bad boy, with the fuckboy, it's exciting, it's fun, there's ups, there's down, he plays on her emotions, he makes her feel something. There's usually drama. Women love drama. Women literally love watching drama. All the negatives, all the positive. One minute she wants to blow up his phone, calling him an asshole for getting with this girl. Another moment he might be Casanova, getting her some roses, making her feel like she's the only girl in the world. It makes her feel like she's on a magic carpet ride flying over the moonlight. They play into the boy with the heart of gold. They love the guy with the hard exterior that's misunderstood by the world but has a soft side that he only shows to her. Women love this. They'll never admit it, but they love feeling those highs and lows. A guy that makes them feel something. They'll say that they don't know why they're attracted to the good guy, but it's because he's boring. Again, they will literally call the guys that they're fucking an asshole. And it's only when they start getting older and the consequences start to creep up where they finally realize that, maybe I don't need to feel those emotions. Maybe I don't need the guy that's gonna throw me around in the bedroom. At least not as much as I need to secure my future. And then that's when they start going, okay, where's the boring guy with the 401k? And you know what, I'll say this. Something I used to do when I was back in the game, when I was dating a lot. This was always something I was very aware of, so I always tried to play the middle, where you couldn't really get a read on me. Is this guy a good guy or is this guy a fuckboy? I always purposely tried to play the middle. The guy that has those long-term qualifications, but also the guy that's gonna raise your heartbeat. And this was something that I tried to be very conscious of. Is this guy a fuckboy or is this guy a good guy? And also, guys, last video I got a comment that was like, but these dating coaches never have a wife and kids. I'm not a coach. I'm not trying to sell you a course. I'm just a guy that's sharing his perspectives and knowledge based on what I've learned through my experiences. I believe that I have a pretty unique experience when it comes to the game because I've literally been on every end of the spectrum. From being the nice guy to being a simp to being the guy that literally had a girl best friend to being the long-term relationship guy, to, being a boy. So I just share my perspectives and knowledge based on those experiences that I've been through. Now, some people might think what I'm saying isn't accurate and has no value, and some might think that I do give value. I mean, that's up to you as the viewer to decide, but I'm not a dating coach. I make other videos. It's just that dating is always a fun topic and a hot topic in entertainment. And on top of that, I have stories to tell and knowledge to share, and it's fun to talk about. But once I get your attention, I try to uppercut your ass with some shit about following your dreams and staying true to yourself, being authentic, find purpose, confidence, to believe in God. Society is, Plato's allegory of the caves and all this other stuff. But I'm not a dating coach that's trying to sell you a course. I'm just a guy sharing perspectives and knowledge based on my experiences. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you got something from that. Thank you for listening. I love you. I appreciate you. With that said, make sure you stay true. And I'll talk to you real soon. Peace.